Well, a Merry to you, and if you're listening to this, well, then you're in the mood for some holiday jingle jangle jacking off. That's not what we're doing here. We've never done that in the same room together. I, of course, am referring to my co-hosts. Together. Yeah. My co-hosts Jonathan and Gabriel. Thank you for
no eye contact.
Thank you. No eye contact. Yes.
Let's avoid it for a bit.
Yes. And I think this time of year is a very special time for everyone. Even if they don't celebrate Christmas or celebrate anything at all, I think it still has significance. It's a time of year that affects our society as a whole.
Yeah, and we'll get to the war on Christmas. That is happening.
I'm one of the generals.
You just like war.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
No, let's take this out.
Well, this is going to be a great podcast. I'm feeling very jolly right now. Yesterday, we just shot a Christmas video where I got to play Santa Claus at the North Pole, and we had a bunch of other amazing, funny people in it.
Yeah, we did have a lot on that one.
We
particularly a lot of it.
It was about 8 or 9. I forget how many people were in it, but
12 of us total.
There's 12 of us total, and it was a fun day. We were in a sound stage that has many other little tinier stages in it. We decorated one all to look like Santa's office with Christmas accoutrements and such. And so, that put me in the Christmas. I've been editing that pretty much ever since. And my family is in town right now. They're at Disneyland. They wanted
big Christmas theme. Family in town.
Yes, they're in town, but they're at Disneyland, and so I've been having to juggle editing this video and going to hang out with them at Disneyland, and I've been going back and forth.
And they're like, no, keep editing.
Here's the thing: I'm so addicted to editing. When I get into a good groove of editing, it's really hard to prime you. It really massages the same synapses in my brain that one would, let's say, with video games. It's like it really gives me that same kind of stimuli when I'm editing a scene that's A, turning out really well, and B, one I think is funny. And I just it's like not being able to put down a book. And
for some people it's heroin, but for you,
thank God it's not that for me. Yeah, it hasn't been for a while, But it's fun. I genuinely enjoy it. So I got up really early this morning and I was editing before I came here. And I can't wait. I hope to get this video done soon. But no,
so a video like this, does it put you in the Christmas
I was just going to say
spirit?
It gets me feeling like Well, I don't decorate my apartment for Christmas,
which upsets me.
But yet we buy and probably own more Christmas decorations than most people do because every year we do a Christmas video and we just get more and more decorations just for that one video. They're just up for a day and they go back into storage.
That's the whole thing. It's the storage part of the equation.
Right.
I don't have I love Christmas decorating. Yeah. I mean, my mom was actually kind of fun with it. She would put them out, and it was just part of that energy.
Right.
You wake up in the morning, like Christmas
it's
tree.
An event.
And it just feels great for like a month,
Right.
It's a different energy.
Right.
And then
the most important time is before
and then
Christmas.
you leave the house, and then now you have to buy your own decorations, and then you don't have storage for later, so you don't do it. And then now suddenly it's been 10 years since I've lived in a house that actually celebrated it.
Not only that, but we live in places where we don't really have visitors.
We don't family.
We don't. It's not like the burbs where we grew up, where you can have guests over, family, friends come over, and they get to admire the decorations and the hard work you put into making the house all merry. But no. We pretty much use our apartments only for sleeping, eating, shitting, and whatever else. We don't want to do it on the sidewalk, and so we there's no one really. We don't entertain people as much as. Well, maybe you and Rachel, Jonathan.
We do. But even before Rachel, and Rachel's amazing about the holidays. But even before Rachel, Christmas, I started to do by myself. You have to do it for yourself. You have to be I'm choosing to embrace the mood, time, and that's actually really what it was. Was just you just want to. You just want to have Christmas, I guess.
I hear that. When I went on Halloween this last year for the first time, and I've never done this in my life, I bought that pumpkin you saw in my kitchen, the one with the face carved out. Now, it's not a real pumpkin. It has the face already carved out, but it looks like I carved a pumpkin and I put it in my kitchen. And that wasn't for anyone. That was for me.
And it sets the mood.
It makes you feel good. You're like,
Yeah, I gotta wake up every morning, go to my kitchen. I just left it plugged in the whole month. And I'd walk in and it's just a lit pumpkin. And I'm like, oh, it's Halloween. That's right. That was a nice little treat for me.
Yeah,
in fact, I loved it so much, it's still there now. And but I was thinking about getting a tiny Christmas tree, just a tiny thing to
I think you should.
Those tiny ones though, I always feel am I going to even notice it
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yeah.
Really?
I notice it when I go to my friends' houses. I'm like, oh, you guys have a tree.
It's going to make you feel good. That's the weird thing.
That's
like,
what
it makes you feel good.
Even like a tiny, tiny one, like a desk-sized one, like I feel like gives off good energy in the wintertime. It's like, oh, this is a nice thing to just look at every now and then.
Right.
But,
it's like, think, like, do you want to erase Christmas from your whole life? No. But and an alternative to that is embracing it, even slightly, just with a tiny tree. You don't have to deck your place out, but you're engaging with Christmas.
Right. I want to go back to the 1960s when they had weird neon trees, like pink trees. Remember the?
Damn. Did you know? It's funny you say that the past could have been different because the future is changing. Like, for the first time ever, I think like 2 years ago it started, where you see these lights that like broadcast a light.
Oh, the lasers,
like the laser
or the
lights,
projections.
the projections onto the face of of their house. So it's like the easiest light setup is all they do is go to the backyard, point it to the house, and boom. You haven't seen those yet?
No, I've seen it.
Yeah, but that's new, right? I don't remember that being.
It's relatively new,
right?
I think. When in Livermore, when I went back this last year for Christmas, there was a neighbor who had. I guess they put some sort of opaque mesh over the front upstairs window on the bedroom, and they had a projector on the inside. I'm assuming projecting like Santa Claus sneaking into the house.
That's really cool.
It was kind of creepy because then they had one on the downstairs, and he like sneaks downstairs, and now he's in the living room, and you see him like. And it was creative as fuck, but it was also kind of like terrifying. Like you thought that was
like,
real.
that's what he's doing.
That's what he's doing.
Oh my god!
He goes into one of the nurseries and just starts jacking off.
What are the limits?
Parents.
Like, what are the limits? What are the limits of something like that?
What killing children?
What can you project onto your own?
Yeah, like can you show like an orgy happening?
Right. It's my property.
Right.
Or is it like anything that can be seen from a sidewalk, from a public place is considered? How does it work?
I think that really it just comes to the just general opinion. Like, yeah, that's clearly not okay. I think.
Right. What's your city's precedent?
I have a feeling that cases like that are not very long. I feel like it's very quickly like, yeah, that's clearly like fucked, or oh, that's nice. Like, I don't know. I think like having nude statues is okay. I've seen like yards with water fountains that have like tits and shit, but
they're never sexualized. Those things. There's always like
they're not sexualized at all.
What if they were?
Exactly. What if the men didn't have like those little, like, you know, like the.
What if they were hard dicks?
Yes,
they didn't have a little statue of David dicks. They had some like hard, like Ron Jeremy cocks.
Right.
But no, I don't know. Christmas is never really a sexual
my daughter knowing
time.
there are cocks out there like that.
Yeah, the nice big ones. Not the tiny ones like her daddy. I wonder Christmas is such a non-sexual time. Like, I really wonder on Christmas Eve what the sex rate is of humanity.
You think it's non-sexual Christmas?
I think Christmas. Do you think it's a sexual holiday?
I guess it's not. Yeah, I feel like anytime people come together to celebrate, to have a nice moment together, it's an excuse to have those moments too.
You have to take a look at the spike in September births.
Yeah. Oh, right.
That's true. That is true.
Oh wait, I think there might be.
But those are like those
I'm
aren't
making
like
that up.
hookups.
I want that to be
like,
true.
I'm not talking like those aren't like New Year's like hookups. Those are like married. Like, we would love each other. We're in a relationship. And I mean, like, just like what, like great, like
right.
No one's going out and getting railed.
I don't know, because it could be the opposite. It's like there's one or two things. Like one of.
Sorry.
I mean,
but it could be. It really could be, because
not to say no one's getting railed. Or I mean,
some people might jump into it being like, you know what, it's the end of the year, time to say goodbye to it, and they might get into that. Or you're right. They might get deep and be like, it's the end of the year, God damn it.
Well, I feel like most people are staying at their parents' house or something. Like, I'm not trying to
also that. No, but they stay at their parents' house, but in their old town, so everybody, they get,
that's right.
They see their old,
you see the old, and that's a thing. That's a thing. I a couple years ago, I was in town. There was a girl that I grew up with. Her name was Marcy, and I haven't seen her since I was a kid. But she was a bully to me. I mean, she was like
real bitch, Marcy.
Yeah.
Let's go back. What school did you go to? We won't find the yearbook. Let's go on.
She's, but I hadn't seen her since I was a kid. She was at a bar like a couple years ago. Fast forward like 20 something years later, and she like walks up to me and she was like, "I just want to apologize for when I think we were like 7." And like the fact that she remembered that was like the best Christmas present I got that year. Was that like
what was she do?
She would just like call me names, and she would just like. I honestly think she was just trying to like. I don't want to say not flirt, but like to try and befriend someone by taunting them.
Very possible.
Because she wasn't really saying anything that was that bad.
Right.
But she would like push me, but like I remember it being playfully pushing, but I at the time didn't understand that, and I thought she was just calling me names and trying to hurt me.
That's a legit thing that people do too. Because they don't know how to. And I mean, when I say
they don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to be like, I don't need to be your friend.
I feel like I totally did that. I was in a class with this girl who was like 2 grades older than me, or 1 grade older than me. I don't know. I feel like in middle school that was kind of a big deal. Wasn't it? Yeah,
if it was cooler to date an older girl, and when you were younger, when you were like 10, and you were dating like a girl in the 7th grade,
sure,
you're like, oh my god, like I must be. I remember that like only the popular guys got the older girls because they could get the better, older, bigger dicked guys.
I feel like I had a shot with this girl.
And yeah, no, but I feel like looking back on it, I think she was like either flirting or playing around or just trying to just harmless stuff like But at the time, I just felt Christmas was it's a time when you get to go back home and really make amends with people because time has healed hopefully any kind of drama that's happened in the last year or however many years, and it's always a great feeling.
It comes together with New Year's.
Yeah, it's part of the spirit of Christmas is forgiveness,
letting go,
humanity coming together. Yeah,
saying goodbye to the old.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not particularly religious, but I subscribe to those ideals and embrace them myself. Try to.
Right.
It's fun.
Maybe for now you feel bad, but I do believe that if you're good and you have good intentions.
Life really.
You can work that phrase into anything. You can work it into any warm moment. Tie it up with that. If you want to like get out of the warm moment, just say that line. Well, if you're a good person, then all right, moving on. Christmas. I mean, Jonathan, you moved around quite a lot as a kid. Mm-hmm. Christmas must have been quite a diverse experience from year to year for you.
Yeah. So I lived in Texas, Alaska, and Virginia, and all my relatives were in Virginia. And so when I was a kid in Texas, there was no snow, and I always really loved going back to Virginia to see both my family and the snow. And snow is already a big part of Christmas, I really loved it.
It's not quite complete without the snow.
It just isn't. It doesn't feel right.
No.
But
like cold without the snow for me is like no benefits.
It's like stupid. Exactly.
And then we also don't live in it, so we don't know the hardships of it.
No, it's caca.
Yeah, there's plenty of snow in Alaska, and that was too much snow, you might say. But
it's known for that.
It's true.
Yeah, I never think
sorry.
So I know, like we've going into 5 stories now.
Right.
Go on, you go.
But in any event, they were always scattered, and like I was only ever in a place for a short period of time before Christmas came around because we'd move in the summer, and so it was extra about family. Like Christmas is really
the one solidifier.
Yeah, and it's like everyone. You decorate the tree. It's about the Christmas activities. It's about whatever's the same year to year. You put up the tree, you decorate the tree. You have some sort of Christmas, drink. Like everyone gets some eggnog. That's the special thing.
Or cider.
Or cider. Yeah. We all go to the mall and we say, you can come with me for now, but then you have to go with mom, and you split everyone up, and then you go to the trunk and put things away. And like don't look in the trunk.
Right.
Oh, I remember that.
Do.
Yeah.
Like that's a big part of it.
I hated that bullshit. I have to say I do feel very guilty about something, and I haven't quite told anyone this, and it's something that I just want to let go on here. One Christmas, I wanted this Star Wars. It was like a Star Wars novel. Like they have the books, right? Yeah. And I really wanted one this one year. And it was right around the time when like episode 1 came out and like Star Wars was just becoming popular again with our generation. And I said, I want this book. My grandma, I was shopping with my grandma. I was at the mall. I said, will you buy this book for me? She goes, I'll get it for your Christmas present. But you can't have it now. I'll buy it for you, but you have to wait till Christmas to open it. Well, Grandma did not know that I knew where she kept the present. And every day I'd pretend to take a really long poop, and I would go in the bathroom, and I would at first I'd sneak. I'd wait for her to go get her hair done because she got her hair done I think or she got it like touched up once a week or something like that, or she would go on these really long errands, and she'd go to and I remember I would wait till she'd go on an errand because at this time I was living with her. And I would sneak into her room, and I'd find the book, and I would go in the bathroom, and then just pretend like I was shitting in case Grandpa saw me or something. And I eventually read the entire book by Christmas, and I had to pretend to be excited when I opened.
That's a shitty deal. I hate that.
And I have to tell you, that was the most guilty I've ever felt opening a present on Christmas. I felt like such.
You took away their joy of seeing you be excited.
Well, they were happy because I looked happy. I faked it. I was like, "Oh,
okay,
wow,
you didn't take it away."
I didn't take that away, but I was just so sad inside. I was so. I took it away from myself. I felt so guilty, and in that moment, I remember thinking, "I wish I hadn't done. I wish I had just waited, so I would get excited and just." Like, and I would also have another gift to be excited about. Like, that would be awesome. Like on Christmas. But no,
it's an interesting lesson.
It was an interesting lesson. Yeah. And I really just hate, I just hate how I did it. But, yeah, my parents, we came from a very strict, as I say, I feel like I say this once every podcast. I'm from a Catholic family, but they took Christmas every year very seriously because both sides of the family made it a big deal before my parents met. And so it
felt like everybody did it too when we were younger.
It did feel
War
that
on
way
Christmas.
more.
Let's get to that. No, I'm kidding. But
well, this is still the prequel. We haven't got to present. This is before. This is the 100 years before Christmas was. There was no one.
The 90s when there was no diversity.
We're not going to get into it now. But it did seem. But then it's like we were younger and living in it. So it's like maybe it's just our perception of it's changed because we're older and not in it. And
I don't think so. I honestly, I want to say like it was a hot topic in the 90s that office policies were saying like, oh, don't say Merry Christmas. Like I remember my parents being like, oh, you can't say Merry Christmas anymore. You can't say. I remember that when I was a kid, that being relatively newish.
Yeah,
and so because if you look at like the 80s and before, like I feel like they were a little bit more kind of just lenient with just throwing around the word Christmas. And honestly, like I'm not religious at all. But I don't ever get offended if anyone wishes me a happy anything, like even if it's a happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa. It's like I understand that it's a time of year we're celebrating selflessness, and you're wishing me a happy that.
Yeah,
and so I
think that's nice. I agree with that. Where it's just like if someone wished me happy Kwanzaa, I'd be like, oh, thanks. I don't know what that means, but if I were more educated and really knew more about what Kwanzaa is, then I would feel the spirit of that.
Let's start with how do you spell it?
That's what you say to them. Let's start with how do you spell it.
All about it.
Sit down.
I mean, the way I take it is that it's a day that they're obviously very excited about. It means a lot to them, enough to wish me a happy one, and if it means a lot to them and they're wishing me a happy one of what they're celebrating, that I don't see how someone could just be take your holiday and shove it up here. No, that's you're just deepening the grooves of the borders between us. It's like it's I
just want to.
But I also have other.
Sorry, go on.
And now I'm like, wait a minute. If I were in a place and it was just like it was only ever like happy Ramadan, hey, happy Ramadan, and be like, oh, okay, sorry, I don't do it, and everyone's like, happy Ramadan. It's like,
tell you right now, it would not bother me. sorry, go on.
Okay.
It just, it doesn't.
I'm just trying to
me.
think about what that would be like. I don't know.
I will tell you what it's like because I've lived in other like Asia, for example, and they are more Buddhist, right? And you would see. And Japan's like a weird type of Buddhism. It's like a Japanese Buddhism. But you would actually see monks walking around, and they're very spiritual people. They still have it intact in their culture. Just like the United States, like there's some places that are a little bit more spiritual. Like some people will go to church in certain neighborhoods. In LA, you don't see that much, but
you see more of the commercialized version of it in LA.
I'll tell you what, I would never be walking down a Japanese street, look at the Japanese people saying something in their culture, but celebrating it with me and be like, excuse you?
Right.
Excuse you? Like, no. And I feel the same kind of way over here. Where it's
I do have to say...
This is one culture saying Merry Christmas. Not everybody's got to say it. Whatever. Who cares, man?
No, totally. When we were working at the law firm, remember every single year... They have the moon celebration, the moon festival, right? Yes. And that was a huge deal. They had this moon thing.
Got it.
And every day we'd show up to work. I mean, we were there 40 plus hours a week, and they would just be constantly, not just telling us happy, I forget how they say it.
Happy Chinese New Year.
Happy,
or Lunar Festival, whatever.
The moon, they have this moon thing, and they would always be wishing us like happy moon thing. And they would be giving us the gifts because they like it's a tradition you have to eat these cakes on that day, and they'd be like just giving us these things and just really in our face about it. But I honestly just felt like a sense of love from them. Like I didn't get a sense of like they're forcing it. Like I see how it can be perceived as that, but for me personally, it was just such a sweet celebration or something.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean,
it's interesting. I think Happy Holidays is nice. It's like whatever you celebrate, but I'm wishing that upon you more specifically. But I'm not ever perturbed by someone saying,
I wasn't. And I remember when this all started to happen, this whole debate about language, about how we should use it. I remember actually being on that side and being like, you know what? There are people who are being, hurt by this. Why don't we be more sensitive to them? It's like, we don't know what it's like to live in a world where you don't believe in this Christmas Christ mess, and maybe that's hard to live in. And then I realized as the years went on that the news would be like, there's only Fox, right? And I hate Fox, but they would say like there's a war on Christmas, and I would always be like, oh no, there's not. But then I started to see it in culture where I was like, wait a minute, now suddenly everybody can only like when I say Merry Christmas, I actually cringe a little bit because I'm worried that somebody's going to be like offended by it. And when did that happen? And then my whole thing is like, wait a minute, there might actually have been this weird thing where like now we can't say like Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I agree.
That's scary to me.
I still say it because I eagerly anticipate the conversation I'd have with someone who like stops me and gets upset for it. I'm like, let's talk about this then. Yeah, because the fact of the matter is like, I don't celebrate Christmas any more than I think the average person celebrates it for the reason of Christ. Like I think it's a great time of year to,
especially as a kid.
Santa. As a kid, it was more of a fun time to look forward to. As an adult, it's a time to reflect on the connections you've had with the people in that last year and like how you're the people around you, and just I think it's a great time of self and just to admire the love around you. It's a beautiful time. It's cold. Everyone wants to be inside drinking alcohol, and it's just it's a great time of year. That's to me what Christmas is about. But to everyone, it's different. And the origin of it, obviously, I'm being very blasphemous in that sense by but I think the reasons of celebrating it are pure. I think Christmas doesn't come with any kind of like if you ignore the corporate side of it, it doesn't come with any kind of ill will. But
it's just such an American problem.
And it's I guess it's like what you mean. It's like I do know some people who've said like Merry Christmas and like a kind of imposing their view of Christmas on you.
Now
it's
that's
like, chill.
That's a different beast.
Right. And it is.
But here's the thing: it's easy to get like point your finger at them saying hey, don't put your beliefs on the Christmas thing. But then like we're literally society's changing so that you can't say Christmas. Like I actually do feel somewhat weird saying Merry Christmas sometimes, not always, but sometimes because I can't read the room. Yeah. That's a weird thing to ever have felt when I was a kid. It was such a natural part of that when in the last 10, 15 years that change happened. And it's funny because the people who are advocating for like just say Happy Holidays all the time are like the ones kind of making the other people stop saying what they're saying.
Joy. Yeah.
And it was like interesting. It's like
people, there are two kinds of people.
You want everyone to live in your world. That's apparently what you want.
No, exactly. It's you want everyone to be just as uncomfortable as you are.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
There are three kinds of people in this world. Actually, there's people who create, people who destroy, and people who just follow whoever is more successful. And I really do think that those kind of people are just the destroyers. Like they're the people who just there's nothing like what do you get out of silencing other people? Especially when they're doing that. Especially when it's Christmas. Like I get it if you're silencing the murderous cries of a biker gang on national television, but like this is.
But we do it all the time.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think the war on Christmas is a little bit. I think a lot of it is amplified and made to not be. And I think it does stem from a real thing. I think it's not just made up. I think a lot of it does come from those few people who might be upset by the word Christmas or just the meaning of it or vice versa, the other way around. And
personally, I think they also sell tickets to a conflict. Like
they
conflict
sell
sells.
Right. And a discussion. Look at how long we've been talking about
exactly. Yeah. My last word on it is ultimately I have never met any of these people that supposedly get offended. So I just actually don't know if this is real.
But I have heard about them from other people who have seen them firsthand. Like I remember my parents would come home and be like, this bitch wouldn't let me say Merry Christmas. I was like, oh, it's the same people who are like like get offended when you say like God bless you or bless you, whenever you sneeze.
The worst part is that there might be some people listening that might think, especially me, I've kind of been pushing it, like that I'm like ignorant or something about it. Like I'm just not being considerate of other people's feelings. I genuinely disagree with you. To that listener, is like you guys, like I just.
Gabe is very considerate of other people's feelings. Just trying to think it out. It's a complicated thing.
This is very. I get that people get uncomfortable with this type of language and topic, but it's just you gotta. We have to be allowed to thought police and word police. We can't judge it like this to this level.
It's
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you want.
Happy whatever. Happy holidays. Just it's like. You just spat out a coward's phrase.
Those aren't fighting words. When you say Merry Christmas, I want to fucking
say Merry Christmas.
I want to debate here,
like a real man.
It's funny.
No, I Christmas has always been. I mean, it really is part of my soul. I grew up hard with it. I mean, it really. I really haven't had a Christmas where it didn't feel like Christmas.
Tell me about believing in Santa.
Okay, thank you. I was waiting for this topic.
That's a big one.
Okay, well, before that, I just want to say, my Christmas growing up, just to paint a little bags, it was a very colorful one. It was my parents would deck the house. It was a Saturday. I remember the first Saturday after Thanksgiving, we would spend the entire day decorating the house, and it was a whole event because my mom would be baking cookies, and there'd be candles. The whole house would just fit, and there's a fire. Like the one day a year we use the fireplace, and I just remember it was just an overall sense of just of Christmas and that, which you and Rachel have managed to replicate here. I always think
Halloween and Thanksgiving.
I mean,
no, I jumped right into Christmas.
They jumped right into that. But really, I mean, you guys, and same with your last place, which was like your last place was smaller than here, and it felt like it still felt like a home, like a Christmassy. Remember that?
I forgot the last place.
Yeah, and that was like it's so it really does show like. I moved to LA thinking I can't do this for myself. I live in an apartment and it's in the city. There's sirens and there's there's like roaches and there's I can't have Christmas here. This isn't the warm, nestled neighborhood, warm in the valley of the Bay Area that I grew up in. No, you can have Christmas wherever you are. When I was a kid, though, it was a very special time. Yeah, eggnog and cider was they were just everywhere and gallons of it.
Christmas food.
And it was just such a happy time. And there was a Christmas movies, and we just cycled through all of them. The Pee-wee's,
the Christmas Stories.
Playhouse Christmas.
That's my family's fave.
The Rudolph. What's what?
Christmas Stories, my family's fave.
Oh, Christmas Story. Mm-hmm. And then we got Jingle All the Way in the 90s, which was one of my favorite movies.
Was that the one with
Schwarzenegger?
Oh.
And he's the action figure. Yes! Remember that? And he becomes the action figure.
Such a great movie.
That was such a good. And Sinbad was the bad guy.
Sinbad is still one of the greats, man.
That was such a good movie. If you haven't seen it, it's kind of like it's a Christmas classic, but I don't think it's that much of a classic. Like, people don't know, not enough people. It's not well known enough. I feel like a lot of kids may or may not know.
It's because it was a movie like what's that movie called?
It came out when we were like Shazam,
like Toys,
Kazam,
or Toy. What's that? Whatever. Toy Soldier.
Oh, Toy Soldiers.
Yeah.
Is that what it was called? Small Soldiers.
Small Soldiers. Yeah. It's like they're a specific movie, right? Like those are kid movies, so you wouldn't imagine them transferring to the next one necessarily.
The only Christmas ones that have transferred from generation to generation are those stop motion.
The clay ones.
The clay ones. They feel like every
Kirby doesn't like to make toys.
I loved those. Those were they were just very visual. I think the reason they stood the test of time is that there isn't really animation today still that's quite like that, and it's really like visually appeal, like just satisfying to watch.
It feels like it's for a child. You feel the innocence and the love and the magic of that.
Because it came from a more innocent time,
right?
And you feel that, like as a kid, the adults almost seem like genuinely like they never say a bad word, and you get sucked into that world easier. Whereas today, it seems a little bit more fake and campy. Well, kids, this is
we discussed it. There's a difference between how we tell our stories now.
I can tell
they're just they're so like. They just tell you everything, and there's no deeper in between level.
Right. Yeah, those Christmas ones that we're just talking about, there was like a deepness to the Santa one, where Santa Claus, where he becomes and he gets thrown in jail for using magic or some shit, and Do you remember that?
Jack Frost? Is that Jack Frost?
No,
I haven't seen that one.
It was the Winter Warlock. That was the villain.
Okay.
I do remember this, but I can't remember it.
He was... and that was such a touch... Because the Winter Warlock, you think he's the bad guy at the beginning, but then it's Santa's origin story. And like the Winter Warlock is what gives Santa his powers. And then Santa teaches the Winter Warlock that people are good and to not be a pariah in the snow. And the Winter Warlock like changes into this like nice human being. But the price is that he loses his powers.
Oh, not worth it.
Yeah, but he found his happiness on Christmas, and that's what gave Santa his powers, and that was very touching to me because it told me it doesn't matter who the best in the kingdom is, just convince them to be soft enough to take their power away, and you become the best.
Right. Exactly. Do you know? I'm glad you say that. You made that into a joke because I've never. I'm going to tell you the truth. I have this weird thing about people saying like, "But what are we teaching the kids?" And I'm like, dude, I've never seen a movie and was like, I learned my morals from here.
From here, yeah.
This is where I learned how to be nice to other people, and all. It's like.
I feel like that's 90% of adults because I feel like most adults forget what being a kid is like. Do you realize being a kid really isn't that different from being an adult?
Yeah, we're not that deep as kids sometimes too. You know?
We're not that deep,
or as adults.
We're not that deep. I think a lot of like Christmas like just children writers in general often either placate to a dumber child or write morals that are way too go over a child's. But it's like
I don't know, gang. Sometimes I think kids learn a lot from what they watch.
You know what? You might be right, bro. You might be right.
Well,
I just don't know because it's just like I don't think I've ever.
If kids absorb shit the way that adults think that kids absorb shit, then we have fucked an entire generation.
You might be right. We might have.
We might have. And if we've contributed to the downfall of society, well, I'm sorry.
I think Teletubbies really just washed out the millennial generation.
Teletubbies dumped us all up.
They were there, but they were just when I had gotten a little bit too old to watch that sort of stuff. But I don't think I would have liked it anyways because it was a little creepy. I mean,
yeah, it was creepy.
Not for the reasons that the media made it. Like I remember at one point there was like one of them's gay or something. Like I did not notice that shit.
Imagine to do about that?
Can you imagine if that happened? That one of these characters is gay, and that's like headlines. Like I feel like
they're telling our babies to be gay.
I mean, maybe that would have. But I feel like today, if that came out, I would be weirded out if I saw that headline today.
Absolutely.
But
it was also weird to see a Teletubby like blow a little whistle into another Teletubby's butt.
Oh yeah, right.
There's also some weird shit.
That.
Like they might have played into it a little bit. Like when they found out like the controversy they were creating, they're like, let's make one of them.
You know how we can make everyone watch Teletubbies?
Yeah, right.
Like
make
a
them
world
fuck each
song
other.
episode.
Come on. But no, oh gosh, I've always wanted to have a Christmas in London on there. I feel like British people know how to do Christmas.
Well, Teletubbies British.
I've seen Love Actually once.
I have not seen it.
Or not once. I've seen that. That's the only Christmas in London that I know of. Why would you want to go to London for Christmas?
Just because
that's where Santa is.
Well, I just feel like Christmas is a very. I think of England a lot when I think of Christmas.
Hell yeah. Charles Dickens.
Charles Dickens. Christmas Carol. Fucking Harry
snow.
Potter.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hook. Yeah. There's a lot of Christmas movies that take place.
I don't know.
That's not a Christmas movie, but
it
Peter
takes
Pan?
place in a,
yeah, it's not a Christmas movie at all.
No,
I just like Hook.
Wasn't it? I thought it was.
Wait, maybe it is. It is around Christmas time.
Christmas,
okay.
Yes.
Is it though?
Okay.
Hook, yeah.
Well, I mean, now that's crazy. Now it's like anything in the wintertime is it Christmas.
There's a magical whimsy and it's always in that townhouse. I feel like there's always Christmas. Whenever it's Christmas in London, it's always in some fucking townhouse.
I was so lost on it. I didn't know that England had so much.
What else do they have there?
Well,
once again, the Christmas. I didn't know any of this was even British.
I mean, Christmas is also a very American holiday, but it's also like I think when it comes to like the fairy tale element of Christmas, a lot of it's told.
Right.
When I lived in Holland, they had this thing called like Sinterklaas or
Sinterklaas.
Yeah,
Sinterklaas,
right?
Really? Is that a real thing?
Oh, for sure. And what he does is he goes down the chimney, but it's blackface. But they explain it away. I swear to God, this is like a debate every year in Holland when I was there. But it's like the chimney soot,
right?
So it's not really blackface. It's just
but are his lips conveniently white?
No, ridiculously red. I think.
Oh, the red. Oh, that's right. It's red.
Or something like that. And then the elves are also
like what? He just looks funny. It's not racist. He just looks funny.
He just looks funny and really surprised.
So what if you? Okay, so here's a philosophical question. All right. So what if the Dutch had they did do a lot of slave trade, so they definitely, they were big fingers in it, but they didn't bring it back to their country. They usually sold slaves to other countries. That's what their gig was. Anyway, point is, let's say in their culture, though, before the slave trade and all that, the Santa Claus, maybe, I don't know when it would happen, but let's say that they made a culture and it really was just a soot thing and they didn't even use it as a racist thing. Then nowadays it clearly looks racist, but it's still part of the culture that it wasn't. What part of that is more real, and should the culture change just because of the perception of it has changed? Not the truth of it, but just the perception of it has changed so much that should it change?
Interesting. That's a very...
it's still a culture, but it is uncomfortable.
When at some point, every culture has to say, okay, when do we let go of certain things?
Right.
There's only two things I hate in this world. People who are intolerant of other people's cultures. And the Dutch.
Yeah. And the French. The Dutch, right. From Goldfinger, dude. Oh, my God.
Gold member.
Right.
Oh, yes. I love them.
Movie.
Anyways, by
the way, I am sensitive to it. It did look very bad from somebody from our Western culture to see that. When I was to see that.
To this day, still being
celebrated. When I saw it, I was like, holy shit, this seems so bad.
It's like you're in am I in a movie right now?
But then I talked to the Dutch people, and they were just like, no, man, but it's just the chimney.
It's just the chimney.
I felt it was like, tone.
Yeah, but
you just look at it and be like, no, don't
you get it? Yeah, exactly. Who am I to tell them what it's been forever for them?
You're telling me the soot only got on his face and back of his hands and not on his suit? Right? If he was Soot Santa, then his clothes would be black. Maybe he went down naked and got dressed in the house so he can get in easier.
From what I understand, actually,
context to this.
I think we actually took the Santa Claus from these cultures.
Oh shit! So Santa
from Europe and stuff. I think
hopefully not from Kinderklaus. Hopefully Kinderklaus is
Sinterklaas is how they said it, but I'm sure there might have Klaus. Like I bet you the Claus. Santa Claus or whatever, that Claus has probably been around forever. Like that's like Nicholas.
Yeah, hopefully he's a branch of what we descended from, but not what we descended from.
Let's just check it. Is it Christmas has become like a
well,
it's pretty great.
It's a magical holiday for me, and I think Christmas for me now is different. It's just as special to me now, but I think before it was about the presents and the fun. It was like something I would look forward to. Now it's more of like something of like where it's like a moment of self-reflection and being there for others. And
so true.
And,
it's less about presents and more about like quality time and
quality time. Yeah,
I mean, and giving presents.
Really, as an adult, anything you really want that's in present budget, you already own. So like
if you need it, you should go get it.
So is that joy?
Like it's nice to get a thoughtful. Or give a thoughtful gift.
That's not what. Yeah, totally, 100%. Like, but what I'm saying is, like, as a kid, like as an adult, you can appreciate the thought and time and even gift itself in the action behind it, but it's not the same kind of excitement as a kid. Like, yeah, I wanted this so bad. As an adult, if you want something so bad, you already have it.
Hopefully,
probably. Hopefully, either that or you can't, or it's out of the probably budget of a gift for. So the joy of a Christmas gift is different when you're an adult. As an adult, you appreciate the effort someone went through to give you that gift. But even more so, I think just Christmas as a whole is just about time. You realize that okay, when you're a kid, you couldn't afford those shoes or you couldn't afford whatever, the thing that you wanted from Target. But as an adult, it's really time is the one thing that we can't afford anymore. And you start realizing,
like on Christmas Day, I'll wake up and I'll think, all these kids around the world are waking up and opening up their presents.
That's a beautiful thing.
But you see how I leave myself out of that equation.
Oh yeah.
Where before I woke up and I was the one excited to get that. But now my consciousness, I wake up and I think of that day and I'm like, all over the world. And this morning, people are like excited.
This is my
or having horrible Christmas fights.
Right. Oh yeah. Fuck. I think about that too. Every holiday, I think about the whole world. Like on Thanksgiving, like I was driving. It was like 6 p.m. and I was driving. Like think about all the warm like tabletops right now and like all the food being like enjoyed and like all around the world and like
not Thanksgiving.
All the new video games being played
all around the world. Yeah, all the new video games.
All the new video games. That's a big.
That was always a thing for us.
Dude, that's so. Do you know that was how my parents played the best Christmas move on me? Because I was just at the age where I wasn't sure if Santa Claus was real or not. So then we need
to get to that, by the way. I pussyfooted, and we need to circle back to that.
But what do you call it? was talking to my parents. I was like, man, he's like, I don't know if he's real or not. And then you remember Donkey Kong?
Oh yeah.
So do you remember the Donkey Kong for Nintendo? I think, and it felt 3D-ish. I
yes, yes, I loved that game. Right. I played that shit till my thumbs broke. It was the first of its type, and most people listening to this are not going to understand it. But it was
for
SNES.
Us, yeah, SNES. Oh my gosh,
it was that platform.
So all the games looked like really 2D, and I know 64 made it look really 3D, but Donkey Kong looked like they did something different, and it was huge.
The graphics were CGI, or like they were, It
was really special. And so I was really young. I must have been like 6 or 4 or 5. I don't know what the hell the age was, but it was very young. And so I had asked for that for Christmas, for that game. And then I told my parents, I was like, I just don't, Santa, like I hope if he's real or not, and would he give it, blah, blah. And then they said, well, why don't you ask him? And so I did. I was like, and I like prayed or something to Santa, and I asked him for the gift. And then they said, why don't you go to the chimney and see if he answered? And I went over and I found the game in the chimney. And I was like, Santa gave me the like, and I was convinced that because I had asked for it, and I never did I assume, like I wasn't like a detective as a kid, so I didn't assume. Obviously, my parents just went to the chimney, put it there,
right?
But after that, I was like, Santa's real. Oh yeah. I asked him, he came through.
Fucking magical.
Yeah, dude, I loved it.
That's so awesome that your parents did that, though.
And it was right at the perfect age.
Dude, when I was about that same age, I really wanted, it was a Ninja Turtles bike.
Ninja Turtles?
Yes, and I don't know if kids still have this, but they had the little spoke things that go ding, 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 when you but they're on they slide, they're like beads that slide. No, not the thing not the card.
So when they go, they all go to the outside.
Right.
Unless you're slow. And then
I've never seen them since I was a kid.
Oh, cool.
But basically the little bars on the wheels, they have like little spokes or like beads that slide up and down when they go dum 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 when it has
awesome. Kind of gay.
It's kind of really gay, and they were rainbow colored. I remember back in the 90s when like I didn't know what rainbow meant. So anyways, so I really wanted this bike, and my parents not only they got me the bike. It was a cheap bike too. It was, but I liked it because it was Ninja Turtles. But I distinctly I look at photos of it and I'm like, oh, that was like a Walmart really
right,
for sure.
Damn.
But I really wanted it, and so it was they knew how much it meant to me. And as a kid, I don't understand it doesn't cost a lot of money. That's all I want. And my parents were like, oh fuck, that's all he wants. Shit, let's get. Anyways, they took the ash from the fireplace and made a mess, like Santa stumbled getting out of the fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course the cookies were mostly eaten, but then there's a few crumbs left and a little bit a realistic amount of milk.
The milk and cookie. You did that too?
Yeah,
I did it too.
Every year we did that shit, and they would always be gone. And I remember just thinking, how could he not be real? Who the fuck? What madman would do this?
Yeah, that's pretty elaborate. They wouldn't eat all these cookies and the carrots on the roof. Run outside and the half chomped carrots for the reindeer.
Oh, did your parents do that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I lived in a place too that you could grab it looked like hay, so we did that to feed the reindeer and you guys don't celebrate 3 wise men, huh? In the U.S. culture,
no, not really.
You guys know of the story, of course, but in some culture, Latin America mainly, I think, and maybe other cultures too. But a few days later, 3 kings, and that's a day where the 3 wise men come and they give you
so the 3 wise men come to your house too?
Yes, they also come just like Santa. And I think it's they give you 1 gift, or maybe 3, I don't know the thing. And it's just about Jesus. It's very Catholic or Christian.
Interesting. We never did. My family, what my grandpa would do is on Christmas Eve, he would go out in the yard, out in the front yard, backyard, and just ring these sleigh bells, and we'd be like, wait, everyone stop talking. Do you hear that? And you just hear sleigh bells. And, oh my God, he's fucking here.
Oh yeah.
He's fucking here.
Exactly.
And then one year I told my mom, I was like, we always hear Santa fly by, but he never stops. Why doesn't he stop? He always comes later after I'm asleep. And then I must have been I don't know how old I was, 7 at the time. And I was like, I guess she smelled that I was starting to get suspicious. Mm-hmm. So then she went way out of her way. And one of their friends, my mom's friend from work, I actually don't know where she knew the guy, but he's a mall Santa and she knew him personally. And so she hired him to come over one night and knock on the front door, and my mom was like, who's that? And he walked in and she pre-wrapped the gift presents and gave them to the guy. So he came in with a sack of the gifts that were for me. And he was like, your mom was saying you don't believe in me. I was like, oh my God.
Holy
I was like, oh
shit,
fuck,
dude.
I'm so sorry. And I said, well, Santa Claus, I said, the reason I was getting suspicious is that you were the same age you are now when she was a kid. And you were the same age you are now when my grandparents were kids. I'm like, that doesn't make sense unless you keep getting replaced like the Tim Allen version. But
right. And
then he's like, oh, that's nonsense. He goes, have you been to the North Pole? You stay frozen like a chicken nugget for centuries. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like,
this
okay.
kid knows his chicken nuggets.
I was like, damn. I was thinking like, well, damn, how can I argue that? And then he gave me green candy canes, which at the time I'd never seen a green candy cane in my life. Yeah. It was like the 1-Up mushroom and Mario that are rare to find.
Yeah.
And
you're talking my language now.
And I was like, he has the green candy canes, and this is a rare one. And I was fucking sold. And so when my parents had to break the news to me one year, I just
So they broke the news. They broke the news to you. They're like, you know what, childhood's over. Let's do this. They didn't touch the water.
I am ashamed to say that Santa Claus stunt made me a believer. And the thing
you're like 17, you're like, guys.
I use the word belief in the sense that, like, you know, psychologically, you know, you can change someone's opinion, but you can't change someone's belief. Like when someone is set in stone on something, you cannot, you know. And so I was set in I was a believer in every sense of the word, a believer. And so then I think I was like 10 or 11, which is like, I forget how old I honestly don't remember how old I was, but I know I was older than most people because all my friends were like, oh yeah, you know, he's not real, Brandon. Like, come on. Like, you know, and I'm like, no. He came to my house one time. Like, I'm not kidding. It was a real beard. It was real that I didn't understand that my mom knew a guy that looked just like Santa Claus. And
they sound like conspiracy theorists explaining it away.
I
Like, no, your mom ran up on the roof,
right?
Like, and then she went out to the mall and grabbed a guy, brought him home.
Yeah,
and I remember telling my mom in the car. Right, she's like, yeah, and then
exactly.
Yeah, right. And then I heard him say, "I'm holly jolly jizzing." Like, what does that mean,
but
Mom?
they had to tell you eventually, like,
well, okay. So I think I was in the car one
Yeah.
time with my mom, and I was
taking
like,
this too far.
I was like, Mom, the kids at school are telling me Santa doesn't exist, but like, I told them, like, I was just lucky enough to have them come over. And like,
okay,
no,
so they're like, he's about to
it.
get real bullied.
right. And she's like,
no, but as a mother, she's just like, I've done this to him. You know, it's like,
so she brought me out into the living room one night when the family was like in the other room watching TV. She brings me out and she's like,
kind of awkward.
It was very awkward. The whole family was in the family room watching TV, and she brings me out into the room where the front door is. So she could like have this like couch conversation.
Yes, Mama. She's like, come here.
yeah,
right. With her glass of wine. Get over here. She lights a cigarette. But yeah, that's when she. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I said, and I was just like, I just remember like I went through the 5 stages of grief in like about 10 minutes. I was just like, what? No, you bitch. Why would you fucking do this to me? Because, you know, and now I'm adding all the pieces up and that makes sense. And okay, yeah, that's what happened. Like, I just went through the whole arc of
like, I still get presents though. So
I still get presents.
Watch this movie.
So this doesn't change anything? Nope. I was like, so I'm still getting presents. Yeah.
Mine just slipped into the consciousness. I don't recall a conversation that kicked it off. It was just hearing a bunch of kids say it and then
really true.
And then putting the facts together where it's like, you know, like my mom keeps sneaking away to buy, you know, or just little moments in life where it's just like, I don't know if I ever had that one conversation, but I know that I must have figured it out clearly.
I had one moment.
Oh goodness!
It was I was shopping with my parents and we're shopping for everyone else. I was with my dad and we're shopping for everyone else. And then basically on Christmas Day, I saw all the presents that I was there to be given to my sister from Santa. And I was like, I was there when all these were purchased.
Oh no!
Yeah, and there's even a wrapping paper fuck up where they used all the Santa wrapping paper was the paper I was familiar with, and all the paper from Mom and Dad was the stuff I'd never seen before. I was like,
remember the different wrapping papers.
Yeah,
damn.
They had to hide the Santa one. Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, God, I almost threw up a little bit.
I saw Santa ones.
Yeah.
Oh,
Me too.
You saw them too? Did you have a moment?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this on the Ghost Stories one because I was a kid and was staying with relatives and it's like woke up in the middle of the night and saw the boots going up
Did we talk about this?
I feel like
was a
this
brief
is
mention, but
familiar.
yeah.
This sounds familiar.
I saw Santa's boots going up the stairs, and I, definitely saw like red and black boots, but in reality, I just saw some feet going up the stairs, and really wanted to be Santa. And it's like, wait a minute, how did I even think that is what I saw?
Your brain filled in the rest.
Yeah, it was like, wait, Jonathan, so you're telling me that last night on Christmas Eve you saw Santa Claus and were like, oh, there's just an instant, I'm going back to bed.
Right.
You just went back to bed? That's what you did?
Yes.
But that is what the memory of me in that moment was.
What if it was? What if it was Santa?
It's like, no, what happened is, I know, right.
What if it was?
It could have been.
What if he lives in our dreams?
Gabe,
and if
come here.
Yeah, that's what happened. I was asleep in my room, and then I woke up, and Santa opened the door. I know this sounds so creepy, though, really. But he opens the door, looks in, smiles at me, and then goes, shh. Like raises his finger to his mouth and shh, and then smiles and then closes the door again. And I was like, yeah, and I went to sleep. It wasn't,
right.
I know what you mean. How that sounds endearing, and I'm picturing it. It sounds, and I see what you saw. I see like a sweet, like the Coca-Cola Santa.
Yes,
he's
that's
like
the exact Santa,
right.
Exactly.
And then
I know,
but in out of context, that is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, because do you know what's weird? That like many years later, an old man with a white beard did the exact same thing to me when I was living in the building with him.
What?
Yeah, because he was like,
my God, are you serious?
Yeah, I was living in the same building with him. He was like the landlord, and he had this habit of just like fucking opening my front door. Or my
so he
room
really
door.
did like what the Santa did.
Yes, I just had that realization right now.
He just opened the door and
he did all the same
things.
He did all the exact same things, except he didn't go shh. His dick no, but he might as well. His dick. That guy was crazy. For real. He probably did do crazy shit like that.
Damn.
Anyways, going back to Santa. But yeah, I definitely saw the nicer version.
Yeah, do you guys remember like Christmas in like the 1960s? I know I mentioned this briefly before, but how not remember, but like the decorations and shit they used to have, or the way they would celebrate it was such a weird it was like a weird stint in Christmas culture in American history that was like only around for a decade. Like for instance, and it was dangerous too. They had flaming like those like candle boiling water ornaments in the tree.
No, I don't know these ones.
My grandparents used all the decorations they had from when they were from like 1960s or 70s, but they were like dangerous because there was like one with a spinning. It was like a rotating wheel of 4 different colors. Picture like that Simon game.
Yes.
Kind of like that. It's a wheel with 4 different colors, and it would rotate over a very hot lamp. And so it would just like change.
As a Christmas ornament?
As a Christmas decoration.
Oh, decorate. Oh, yes.
Put it in the corner of the room, and it was this big wheel that would with like 4 colors.
And the hot air makes them turn around and around.
No, I think it was just on a motor, but the lamp was so hot that they would always. My grandparents would have to replace them because they would burn the plastic. You're just putting a hot lamp over like this wheel of plastic, and the ornaments were like these little glass. I forget what they were, but a lot of people had them back in the day. Like they looked like candles, but they were made of glass, and they had like boiling water or like.
That's so cool.
And there was like a lamp that would heat the bottom of them, but you'd put that in your Christmas tree.
Yeah, no.
Like it was like super, super dangerous. And I remember thinking like all the new shit at Target, like my grandparents' decorations were so much cooler.
It's like most things that have happened. Like I feel like our parents had things that were well made, but they weren't they weren't cheap necessarily, and it was hard. There weren't much of supply of them.
Mm-hmm. We have 9 ornaments. They're all made of brass.
Yeah. And they're very well made, and they're very intricate. We've lost quality over time. Now it's just like we have a lot of things, but they don't have that detail that maybe they used to.
Christmas is
one of the
most. It's one of the most beautiful holidays. When I was a little kid, my grandparents, they'd be at their house and they'd have all their vintage decorations up. I swear to God, I was like naturally high all the time as a kid because I would just lay under their Christmas tree and just look up and just be because they had the multicolored lights. Which was they had the blue and the red and pink and all that, and I just remember looking up the tree and just this vortex of just different branches going this way and that, and lights coming from different sections, and it almost seemed like a hive of magic. Yeah, and then just lay under there, and just look at everything. And I remember I sometimes I would take the balls, like the Christmas, the little ornaments, I would take them off the tree and just stare into them because they were reflective, And I just remember look, this is what the world would look like if everything was green. And then I'd look on this is what the world would look like if everything
that magic eye of a kid
was red.
I definitely have memory. Yeah, it's a thing. It's like when you're a kid, you're allowed to play a little bit.
Yeah, and it was
still allowed to.
It was a time of year that I knew everything was going to get visually appetizing. Like I knew that there was going to be lots of cool stuff hanging up in the house, and the food was going to get better for this month, and I was going to have less school this month, and it was just I get lost in colors and glitter, and it was like a gay kid's paradise for a month. Christmas is a wonderful and then you get gifts and you get see family. It's still very much a similar experience for me now, but I definitely remember that whimsy of it being a kid and just the world treating you to all the experiences that were happening.
And you get the presents that are going to last you a while. You're like, this present is going to entertain me through February for sure.
There were Christmas gifts that I would be like, this is a long-term one. This guy I'm going to be using next Christmas. I'm going to. And some of them were great. Some of my best gifts or things I've ever owned were Christmas presents, things I didn't even expect I would get, and they shaped, a lot of my childhood. But
N64.
N64.
That was one for me.
Same here.
And that was what we were talking about earlier, a game changer. I was like, oh my God, you could see
you can move front and back,
and they don't make it like they used to. My N64 still works.
Yeah.
My first PS3, not so much.
Yeah, right.
That's interesting. Yeah, you could drop an N64 off of a building and be like, oh, I just got to dust it off and tighten this and
just blow on the.
Exactly. Oh God. Yeah, there was something really fun about playing GoldenEye with my family on Christmas.
GoldenEye, holy moly. Will
FPS.
people understand these references?
N64
it's like you would have to be our age to understand.
Well, let me say,
but that was revolutionary.
If whoever's listening to this does not understand what that is, go to just go on Amazon or whatever, eBay, whatever, find the cheap. Get an N64 and get the game GoldenEye. That's really looking back on the N64. Right. One of the few games worth playing, getting an N64 just to play.
Right.
Or I guess maybe
it changed the whole shooting first person.
Yeah, Doom and GoldenEye were just first person shooters are a big deal.
And I just remember the levels on GoldenEye, the soundtrack, everything about it was just it was like the perfect video game.
How funny! So is that a thing then? So on Christmas, it's just a bunch of people opening up their video games.
It was
playing?
That's my favorite part. It was always playing a video game with my siblings.
Right.
My brother and my dad and I all three of us were big video game enthusiasts, and so every Christmas, usually one of us, if not all three of us, there was some sort of video game related gift.
Right.
And
multiplayer, so multiple.
And it was nice because it also gave you something to do as a family, because we were the kind of family.
It was the only time my parents would be like, okay, go ahead and play the game, and we'll watch, and it's okay. We're not going to guilt you.
I loved as a kid playing a game with an audience. When my mom and dad were in the room, I'm going to do super good, and they're going to be so impressed. And or movies. I remember I loved getting movies for Christmas back in the VHS days. I would get
you're right, one movie or something.
Yeah, get a VHS.
Whose movie are we going to watch tonight on
Whose
Christmas?
movie? Yes, I remember that because sometimes my brother would get a movie and I'd get a movie and we would fight over what.
Who has the more Christmas movie?
You know what? Exactly. We'll watch the one that's more Christmas themed. So if I didn't have the Christmas movie, my brother got to watch his stupid shit. And here's the thing: that kids just saying this out loud, I sound like an old person. I sound like we got excited about getting two movies two movies. We got excited that two new movies were in our home.
Oh, you mean like a hard copy?
Dude, I gotta tell you, man, there are some people who have it really, really rough though. We all three of us lived pretty decent holiday experiences. We haven't been depressed. Some people, when Christmas comes around, they get sad because they don't have a family. Yeah. They don't. Some people don't get presents. They get hand-me-downs, and if they do get a present,
it's a reminder of what you've lost that year.
So it's we're lucky that we get to share our nice stories of Christmas. And I wish everybody could have that, but
it's very true.
But I want to recognize part of it too. Some people,
I mean, did anyone? I mean, I've never had a bad. Have you guys had a bad Christmas?
Yes.
Gosh, what was
teenage years, baby. Come on, when you're no longer a kid.
Where were you during this Christmas?
I was Taiwan. I remember I was 16, maybe something like that. And I was partying the whole night before Christmas. My sister had come to visit. And I was just I was at that age where I was just family sucks.
No, we all.
I don't want to talk to my parents. Blah, blah, blah. Just a brat. And I hung out the whole night. Got home. I didn't have cell phones like that back. Whatever. Like,
right.
Not like what it was. So I just showed up like as they were like realizing that I wasn't there, coming home. Like they realized I wasn't coming home, and then I opened the door and they're like just starting to open up their presents.
That's like the worst time to walk.
Yeah, and they come in, they see their 16-year-old son clearly like fucking mess of moly, and then
oh no,
yeah.
Christmas,
little stuff like like Merry Christmas, and then I felt like a horrible human being. Let me tell you right now. So I try to avoid those horrible Christmases, but.
Yeah. As long as you
Actually, that's not even that bad of a Christmas. There are some people with horror stories. Like I got beaten by my father, my drunk father on Christmas.
That would be. Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying? Like we are fortunate.
We're fortunate that we don't have those stories. I wish we had like legitimate bad Christmases to talk about, because I feel like we usually our experiences are diverse in that sense. But it sounds like we all had pretty much a decent Christmas experience as children. But absolutely. I do know a lot of people I went to high school with too. I felt like there was like more kids having a terrible time or a worse time than I was.
Sad, man.
And because most kids didn't have families that really, I guess, embraced the holiday as much. And
you must have had 2 Christmases.
Because my parents they split.
That's a big issue for a lot of families.
That
I'm sure.
was Chris. Oh my God. But you know what? As a kid, it really. I mean, the whole joke about how kids 2 Christmases, yay! It's like it really is true. Like it is kind of a nice.
It's like all the other shit's bad. This is one of the nicest things. This is actually a little plus.
Yeah, and if you're like, I don't want my parents back together, then it's all good.
Even better.
I do remember them being like, "What did your mom get you? Oh, what did your dad get you? What did your that like?"
And you try to pump it up. You're like, "Well, it got me a lot."
Dude, that's awkward.
I mean, might want to go back to the store.
There was
I'll be writing a report.
We had kind of an unspoken rule as a family to like all dad's gifts. Leave them at dad's house, and all mom's gifts, leave them at mom's house.
Wow.
That sucks.
That does not sound like you guys...
It was not fun.
They weren't amicable then.
But they each got me a Game Boy.
Yeah. So I had them both.
So this year, I think, is elephant in the room. What are you guys doing this year for Christmas?
I'll be in PR.
PR. Jonathan?
Going to France. With Rachel and I are going to France to meet my mom. She's there. And we're gonna hang out in Nice. France. My mom and sister.
Pronounced nice.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's gonna be fun. Christmas in France.
It's a little random trip, but just gonna go do it there. It's all about the family.
That's wonderful. That's a wonderful thing.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
I wish I could. Well, I'll be with you up until about Christmas time. We're all going to be in Puerto Rico then. I'm going to be.
So it'll be good to go and get some relaxing in before I see the family. Family's all.
Yeah.
Family and Christmas can be stressful as an adult too.
It very much can. It is
specifically if it's not like the big, because if you don't have like the whole family, then you get like very specific.
Yeah, that's a
family, small family.
If you go to a small gathering, then it's like there are 5 of us. Right. We will annoy each other. But if there's 20 people, it's like I'm going to go talk to someone else.
It's a party.
Yeah,
it's a party.
My family is usually the social snowball. Like we usually take in all the people, like all of our friends who don't have a Christmas to go to. We're notorious for bringing them to our thing.
And just use them to deflect tension?
Actually, yeah, I've used it. Like, well, Gabriel's come to one of them at least.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Like,
that's right.
There's sometimes it is nice to have a friend there who you can, like, if you feel like there's awkwardness in the family, you can just talk. You can bring, because Gabriel I see every day, I could bring up any topic and just start talking. Oh, hey, so what's new with it? But, because my, and also, I don't know, I just think it's nice to be the, Christmas should not be an exclusive thing, and yet there's so many people who have nowhere to go, or just
especially in places like LA.
Spirit of Christmas.
Especially LA. It's your first. If it's your first year in a big city, or just even your first few years in a big city, and you haven't really met any, or don't know anyone well enough to spend Christmas with,
and you don't have the resources to get back home.
It's too fucking huge. Then it's like, well, fuck, am I forced to just spend it by myself? Like, that's terrible. And some people, like a lot of people, go through that.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people who have, like, because I went back home for Thanksgiving this year, and like we have a few friends that are relatively new to LA, and they hit me up going, "What are you doing for Thanksgiving?" I'm like, oh fuck, like, I'm sorry, man. Like, that's terrible. And I've just been very fortunate. I've never lived either I've never lived far enough from home to where I can't see my family, or I've never not had the resources to get to them.
Seems like a strange way. It could be a very, very opening or eye-opening experience, like if you're just alone for the holidays, because I bet you could get really introspective and really analyze how you are. But it does seem like a very specific mode to go through the new year, like being alone on New Year's. I've never had that.
Certainly makes you reflect, I'm sure.
Yeah,
that must be. Yeah, I've never. I think one year I had Thanksgiving by myself. That was by choice. I think. Yeah, I definitely did. I was actually particularly sad. But
it doesn't seem like it's going to be joyous.
Right?
Could be.
But you know what? I think this year it's going to be fun.
It's going to be a good one,
and we're going to have a great time. And I'm not to sound like we're doing a Thanksgiving episode, but I definitely want to conclude on saying what I'm thankful for this year. I think for me, Christmas is the true Thanksgiving because it really gets to the end of the year where you have a bigger hindsight on the year as a whole, and you can kind of reflect on just. Usually people are with more family at that time of year than Thanksgiving, and it's usually a time when we kind of weigh in our morals more than Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. And I just think that it's, I don't know, looking back on this year, I mean, I was lucky last year, and I was lucky the year before that, and this year I feel like I was the luckiest year so far in my life, and I just feel like I've had so much fun with you guys, and we get to finally take a break from this rat race and just spend time respectively with each of our loved ones. It's going to be a great December 25th. And I honestly, I couldn't ask for much more this Christmas. So no. Fuck you both. Fuck you both. And the ozone's not real. But here's the thing. Fuck, I'm tearing the place apart.
I thought it was me.
That was me. I just want to say thank you to all of you listening, who I am eternally grateful for. I never thought people would take time out of their day to listen to us talk. Yeah. And I hope you guys have whatever you celebrate or whatever you do, whatever your sexuality is, your religion or your race. I just hope you have a great end of your December, or December as a whole. I hope it's been a wonderful time. And next year, I hope you kill it. I hope we kill it. I hope it's going to, that's next week's episode. I guess next week we're going to be talking about 2018.
2018. Quick recap.
And just recapping everything we've done. That's going to be a great episode, you guys. I've already listened to it. It's fun. Anyways, Gabriel, Jonathan, thank you so much, and to everyone listening, have a Merry Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa.
And you know what? Happy holidays.
Happy holidays for the cowards out there.
For the fucking babies. All right, my bad.
All right, take care.
Love you too.